Hi, I'm Carly Starr, Brullo-Niles, the creative director and co-programmer of OIFF. And this year, of course, we are doing our 10-year reprise. And in the house, we have alumni Cameron Penn. Hi, Cameron.
Hello.
Let's start with Carlsbad.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're from.
That's right, yep. I originally from Carlsbad, California. Went to Carlsbad High School. Started in the theater program there, doing DTASC, which is the Drama Teachers Association of Southern California. We would take Shakespeare plays and do them in 10-minute scenes. And the creativity of directing those led me to Mr. Brandmeier's filmmaking class. And that's where I made my first film that got into OIFF.
And I believe you won.
Yes, it won the it won the audience award for best high school film.
I mean, I've watched your films and helped program your films, and it's always fascinating to me where people begin. And what was interesting about you is you're a magician,
Mm-hmm.
and then your acting. I mean, your acting was kind of a life-altering situation, it seemed, kind of in 2015.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You won a very national prestigious award like Richard Dreyfuss and,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know, many people, Sally Field. I mean, what was that award and how did that lead to film?
Yeah, so that was in the DTASC program, Drama Teachers Association of Southern California, and essentially that scene was a scene from Titus Andronicus, the bloodiest play of Shakespeare.
Wow.
Where we serve the mother a meat pie with her own children. There's people beheaded. It's very bloody and exciting. And so I was one of the lead actors in that scene. With Aaron Slane, John Collison, really good friends I went to high school with. We ended up kind of taking that scene to this competition and ended up actually winning first place. And because we won first place, it propelled Carlsbad High School to win first place overall in the first time in its 50-year history in the competition. Wow. So that was a really big moment for me, for Carlsbad High School. And I had kind of not only taken a role as an actor in this scene, but I was also largely directing it. And I realized that I really enjoy directing actors, and that's what kind of led me to pursue filmmaking.
I mean, from your high school film, it was amazing because you're in the first shot and you speak to the camera, and I mean, the camera just eats you alive. And I think it's interesting your choices of actors. I mean, did it just start off as your friends, and then now, how do you find your talent, you know?
Well, so yeah, that project was a stacked deck, my first film at OIFF, and that's a House of Cards parody, where I would break the fourth wall and kind of do my best Kevin Spacey impersonation. And so that was all cast with just students in the classroom, primarily. A couple of, Corinna Guiara was someone who was in the theater program, and I recruited her for that, but largely it was just students in the filmmaking class. And so that was kind of what was available to me. And then when I went to college and made 72, I was working with a couple of professional actors in New York City and also some college students. And then when I went to the roommates, I decided I wanted to work with known professional names. And so it was kind of just this natural progression of working with my friends and then working with professionals, semi-professionals, and then working with known names that have had established careers and things like that.
Because your subjects in every one of your films, you know, you're either innovative or an outcast in your selection process, it seems, you know, from aging to cults to terrorists, or, you know, how do you find your subject to your films?
It's very random, you know, it's very random. I'll usually just hear something like an idea and just really latch onto it. I think the best example of that is the roommates. During my freshman year of college, I heard a rumor that if your college roommate commits suicide in the room, you get all A's for the semester and free housing. And so I thought, what if that was a film where a couple of friends have this third terrible roommate and they kill him but make it look like a suicide? But then I realized putting it in a retirement home would be kind of even more rich and interesting and unique. And so it stemmed from this rumor I heard that had always kind of been in the back of my mind throughout college. And then at the end of college, I wanted to kind of make it, but in a retirement home. And other projects like 72, that was just a song that I heard, an Eagles song, Pretty Maids All in a Row, that just made me somehow think of the 72 virgins that terrorists think about. And so that's what prompted that idea. So it could be anything, really random things prompt my ideas and what I want to pursue, or opportunities come along. And if I latch onto it enough, I realize, okay, I'm going to spend the next year working on this.
Is that your process? Like, first, does it come, is it a vision? Is it a thought? Is it a scene? How do you start your process? Because you're involved in almost every aspect of it. From, it seems very clear that your stamp is on all of it. So what do you normally start with?
Well, the most important thing is to have a character, a compelling character that is unique and isn't a cliche and isn't something that I've seen before. So, for instance, with the roommates, that character would be Henry, played by Barry Bostwick. This is a guy who is in love at 75 years old, and he'll do anything to pursue that and to get out of his dreary life and terrible situation with his roommate. So that character really kind of drove me, and I see myself in the protagonist that I pick a little bit, which is maybe with some of the crazy characters I've had not such a good thing to admit, but generally I do identify with these characters in some way, and so that's what leads me to say, okay, I want to explore this. I want to, in some way, sometimes explore myself in this set of circumstances, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, OIFF, we played the roommate. It was very, fascinating, the reception that people had. I thought it was pretty awesome that you had an older generation involved in a storyline that was, comedic and sexual and all of the above, that you don't see every single day. I mean, has that brought you now to a new commercial level, or like what has the roommate done for you?
Well, it's been a major kind of breakthrough, I guess would be the word for me, because it obviously got me the Emerging Filmmaker Award at OIFF. It went on to play at 2 Oscar qualifying film festivals, and ultimately now is something that I'm working on developing into a television series, essentially, where after they kill Jerry and they realize, well, how are we going to make this look like a suicide? They essentially go on the run and end up in Mexico. And so it's all about Henry and Arthur, Barry and Bruce, kind of just pursuing this wild kind of, it's like Thelma and Louise meets the bucket list. So it's kind of been a really strong kind of proof of concept for this show that I want to work on. It's gotten me some other opportunities, some other exciting projects as well that I can't yet talk about, but that are at exciting stages. And every project is just, the idea is just to help you get to the next level, essentially, to kind of you want to learn, you want to build up your credibility and things like that. So the roommates has been the biggest one so far.
I mean, that's why I think my questions are pretty general, because when I went through your reel, you do have this style that you have kept through. It didn't matter if you were a freshman in high school or dealing with, Golden Globe Award winners. You do have an approach to real time, and how you do your setups, I think, are probably meaningful to you. I mean, how you set up your scenes from a production standpoint, that seems like you really take your time and you really think that one through. Like your camera shots are pretty unique. Do you want to explain your directing process of how you block with the actors, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, generally, the more you can kind of just let the actors do their thing, the better. And so I like to rehearse before filming, not just on the day of, but weeks before. And so generally, I like to see where the actors take it and what they want to do. And generally, they'll get it about 60% of the way there. And then I come in and I bump it up and I get it to 100%, where I say, okay, well, you're going to stand here and things like that. I work with my DP, obviously, on blocking and things like that. So that's, as far as how I set up a scene, ultimately every scene has to have a goal or a motivation. What's the point of this scene? And so I have to make sure that gets across. That could be, I could be getting that across with just a look that an actor has, a gesture that they make, or it could just be a really important line, or it could be a cutaway to an insert shot. But it's all about building to whatever that thing is. For instance, in The Roommates, when Henry is trying to convince Arthur, who's having second thoughts, that they're going to poison Jerry, it's that cutaway to the shot of Lawrence, the shrine to his dead hamster. And that's what the scene is really about. It's about getting Arthur there. How is Henry going to get Arthur to help him kill Jerry when he's having second thoughts? He's going to use the pain that Arthur's feeling because of that shot of the hamster, reminding him that Lawrence was killed by Jerry's recklessness. So that scene, it all builds to that moment.
See, and that's what I think you have a really deep understanding of, is backstory and the tie-ins and how you do it in every film. It didn't matter. You know, I was just watching your whole reel and I was thinking, he really has learned. Like, you, it seems that you have a formal education in film. You know, when most people in indie film festivals or just kind of cruising along, you know, they take it upon themselves in their own hands. It seems ever since you were young, you have been studying performance, from being a musician, you know, magician to, you know, what have you. And I think that's what you really understand about a scene, is a natural flow of an actor and people's emotions. Because isn't that crazy how we always we're left right there where you need to be for your next film. I mean, so the next one, what are you going to focus on?
The next one is going to be well, I'm gearing my career more towards television now.
Oh,
I think television.
And then why is that?
It's because television is just very compelling. Yeah. It's easier to get shows made than high budget films, and also that's where everyone wants to go. Like, if you're an indie filmmaker and you win Sundance, it used to be that you would direct a studio movie. Now, in many cases, you're trying to get a show made. You know what I mean? And all the best directors are doing that. And I just think it's a better form of storytelling, because you're with the characters longer and you identify with them more, and it has more of an emotional impact and there's more room to grow. So I think TV is really the future. So that's what I want to pursue. I'm just someone that I go where the opportunity is. So that's,
and it seems like it's happening in television because you can give more filmmakers and more projects a chance. You know, not quality but quantity. I mean, you can hit. You know, Netflix will have multiple ones and see which ones land. You know, and so do your process. How are you getting your projects out? Do you have an agent, or what is happening with you connected to LA?
So in Los Angeles, I have my production company, King of the Sea Films, and so that's essentially the hub of my projects, essentially. And so I generally do a lot of work with entertainment attorneys to secure rights for different things, projects, things like that, and kind of just build them up from the ground up. So right now, I'm trying to kind of build projects on a larger scale, find better financing, hopefully connect with bigger producers and things like that. So that's really where it comes from, by kind of setting up a company, for instance, getting the rights to a popular novel. You know, that's really the way that you can kind of break through. And the other way that I'm trying to break through is through screenwriting. So just writing scripts that are interesting and unique. That's a really good way to kind of write yourself into the director's chair, as they say. I mean, the two ways to direct in the industry that are really popular is either you write your way into the director's chair or you edit your way into the director's chair, for people that are really into editing. So editing is something that I usually edit my own projects, but I don't necessarily see myself as an editor. I see myself as more of a writer and director. And so by going out, trying to get rights for different properties and projects and things like that, and then being able to say, hey, I have the rights to this is my take on it with this script, and then to be able to go to producers, other production companies, and kind of form alliances and things like that, and kind of just build out projects. And so that's been my strategy.
That's a good strategy. I mean, editing is a big passion. It is the second director in the project.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a thing, you know. So I was wondering about that, of your editing process. But how do you cast?
That's
I mean,
a great question.
how did this happen for the roommates?
Mm-hmm. So that was a very kind of a very interesting process, and there were actors that dropped out and things like that because, again, it was a low budget project, so you don't have the security of a higher budget project, you know, because the less money on the table, the less reliable people are generally, whether it's film, real estate, whatever. And so essentially I started out, I was getting to know Joanna Ray, who's a very prolific casting director. She did Mulholland Drive, Inglourious Bastards, Snowpiercer, so she's worked with Tarantino, David Lynch, Bong Joon-ho. I got to know her through a mentorship program with the Academy Awards. And so she was my mentor. And I sent her the script for the roommates, and she said, this is really funny. And then she was kind of in that age group almost, and really appreciated a project like that. And so she said, let me send the script to my good friend Bruce Davison, who's an Academy Award nominee. And so she sent it to him. He was interested, but had a very busy schedule. Ultimately, I ended up reaching out to Barry Bostwick's manager, and he wanted to do it. And so it turned out, just by coincidence, Barry and Bruce went to NYU together, the same school I went to.
Wow.
They were college buddies. They'd never worked together before. They'd been competing against each other for different roles over the years, but there had never been something where they could work together. So they said, you know what, we like this script, we'd love to work together, let's do it. And so then I posted, you know, you use a lot of different casting websites, Backstage, Actors Access, LA Casting, and ultimately I got a call from Roger Paul, who was Martin Cove's manager at the time, and said, you know, Marty would love to do a comedy, and he worked with Barry Bostwick many years ago and has a lot of respect for him and would love to kind of do this project, and loves the character of Jerry. You know, so originally I had written Jerry as kind of this morbidly obese, kind of semi-senile character. But when Martin Cove came along, I realized, you know, he's younger looking.
He's Cobra Kai.
Yeah, he's a classic 80s villain. So I tried to take Jerry and still make him disgusting, but more kind of intentionally disgusting, and more of a villainous kind of character. And so that's how it came together. It was really just having a good script, attaching a great piece of talent, and then you can get other pieces of talent. And
I'm sure Marty's Cobra Kai situation has helped.
Yeah, it has.
I mean, it's brought a lot of viewership to your film. Or where is the film now?
The project, I have to see what we're going to do with it as far as releasing it. I'm looking into potentially either keeping it as it is and building episodes based on what I have with like a smaller streamer like Facebook Watch. Obviously, it's a shame that Quibi shut down. That was another one I was targeting. The other thing is to just take what I have and just maybe rewrite some things and then build it into a bigger series for a bigger platform like Amazon or Netflix or something like that. So those are the different options I'm kind of considering. You have to kind of chase the marketplace, see what people are interested in, make sure that it fits the criteria of what people are interested in without being like everything else that people are trying to sell and make and things like that.
I mean, what's very evident is your passion for Hollywood or old school approach to filmmaking or success. Or I love that, like, because you can be an independent filmmaker, but you seem like you're very entwined in the business as it is. I mean, like, you're well versed. And does that mean a lot to you? Do you think that helps a person's career to go to another level? Is, you know, all the pathways to get there?
Yeah, knowing about the business is really important. You know, when I was in college, I was interning for some really good production companies that taught me a lot. I worked for Ali Shermer's company, the producer of Star Wars, who sadly passed away. And then I went on to work at Legendary, which is a fantastic company, reading scripts for them, helping kind of advise on their TV projects. And ultimately, the business side is extremely important.
Because you seem like you respect a mentor.
Yeah.
It seems like you've had a lot of people throughout, you know, support you, and that's
absolutely.
very important, isn't
Yeah.
it, to the soul and as a artist and confidence and all of the above. I'm sure walking on that first day of set for the roommates was a bit, okay, here we go, Cameron.
Yeah.
You know, and every step led you to that moment. I mean, you've worked super hard, Cameron. It's really cool to
Thank
see
you.
all that's happened to you.
Thank you
It
very
really
much.
is. We're really excited to see where you keep going. I bet you're just gonna keep going. Yeah, you have
Fingers
very good
crossed.
instincts, right? That's kind of what you're attracted to in the arts? It's kind of instinctual, isn't it? All that you have to do, from feeling people out, acting, you know, the whole gamut, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. You have to really understand why you're doing what you're doing. You have to see the end goal, whether it's in writing a scene, directing a scene, promoting a project, getting into OIFF. So you have to kind of just follow your gut. But sometimes your gut is wrong, and so you have to learn from that. And that's where having good mentors comes in.
Yeah.
It helps to mentor other people as well, like younger high school filmmakers and things like that. It builds just a process. I mean, you know, I'm still learning a lot, you know. I'm far from being where I want to be, but I feel like I'm on the right path. So sometimes, you know, you 100% have to follow your instinct. Other times you have to take a step back, kind of reach out to some of the mentors, which are people that I interned for, worked for, know throughout the industry, that are a little older than me, further along in their career, and that's really helpful as well. Yeah.
Well, thank you for always supporting OIFF, and we're excited to have you every single time we see one of your films come in, and we look forward to hopefully having something for our 2022 festival.
Yeah, I'll
Right?
get to work. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much.